The long-awaited sequel that nobody asked for, the legendary best albums of all time tier list. Here's the tier list, here are the albums. Enough foreplay, let's go. Black Sabbath, Paranoid, it's a classic, it's iconic, it's the first true metal album to truly captivate the world. It's an easy and free S tier. I'd put a GOAT tier, but I'm afraid the entire list is going to be up there, and I don't actually know what to do about it. System of a Down, Toxicity. Yeah, this is going to be a tricky one. It's GOAT tier. It's obvious to me. One of, if not the single greatest metal record of all time. Top to bottom, this is powerful, this is fun, this is legendary. GOAT tier. Ween, Quebec. I'm also going to put this into the GOAT tier, and there's not much you can do about it. I know what you're thinking, it's the SpongeBob guys, but this album offers an actual metric fuck-ton of whimsy fun, and simultaneously some incredibly powerful ballads. I like this record a lot. It's got some misses, I won't lie to you, but the good tracks here are some of my favorite pieces of music I've ever heard. GOAT tier, behind Toxicity, I'm not a maniac. Raekwon, Only Built for Cuban Links, A tier, but don't freak out, Raekwon fan 112. It's an incredible hip-hop project, one of the greats. I'm not so sure. Right on the cusp of S tier, but S tier regardless. Now you can freak out. Disturbed, 10,000 Fists. Okay, so I'm fairly sure every Disturbed album actually sucks ass, but this one sucks the least ass, I guess. Thank you for your time. D tier. Drake, Take Care. Is this a bad album? Yeah. You thought I was going to say no, didn't you? Drake sucks. This album sucks. It's got a couple hits on it, but I can't give this much higher than D. I'll give it C. Whatever. Faith No More, Angel Dust. I love Mike Patton, and I love this album. I'm more of a Mr. Bungle fan than I am a Faith No More fan, but man, this album is just consistently pretty great from top to bottom. Back of the A tier. Fishman's Long Season. This is easily one of the greatest single pieces of music I've ever heard in my life. Live. The studio version has this weird section that sounds like Shinji is flushing the fuck out of a toilet. I don't like that part that much. But as a piece of music, a singular 40-minute long song, and for it to consistently keep me as engaged and as moved as it does, this is magical. GOAT tier, behind System of a Down. Tupac, Me Against the World. This is pretty great. A couple relatively weak tracks on this, which usually wouldn't matter too much, but in a video of only great albums, it's gotta carry some weight. He's not my favorite hip-hop artist, and it's not my favorite record, I wouldn't say. Back of the A tier. Foo Fighters, Wasting Light. Comfortably the Foo's most consistent project, but to be honest, I don't hit this project very often. It's definitely a good album, but I don't think it's a great album. Top of the C tier. Portishead, Dummy. Damn, this is a great album. To be honest, this isn't really my genre of music, but I'm going to place it fairly highly just based on the atmosphere this provides. This album really transports you right into it. One of the most immersive albums I've heard in a long time. Top of the S tier. Frank Ocean, Blonde. This is great shit. Really solemn album, I find, but it's a phenomenal record when you're down. I like it a lot. Back of the S tier. Limp Bizkit, $3 Bill, y'all. What is there to say about Limp Bizkit that hasn't already been said? They're not great, but damn do they bring the vibes. There's some hits on here, but a lot of this feels like almost blatantly filler. D tier, still better than Disturbed. Gojira, From Mars to Sirius. I like this a lot. I've heard Gojira described as your favorite band's favorite band, and I think that's a great way to put it. A lot of the instrumentation goes right over my head, but I can tell I'm listening to something incredible. S tier, behind Black Sabbath. Green Day, Dookie. Meh. That's all I have written here, actually. Top of the C tier. Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction. There's actually nothing written here. Off the Dome, Axl Rose Sucks. The album has some hits, undeniably classic songs, but several songs in here I would describe as mid to bad. C tier, Behind the Foos. Hold that shit, Guns N' Roses fan. Swan, Soundtrack for the Blind. This is a fucking behemoth of a record, over 2 hours long. And man, this is incredible shit. Top to bottom, the atmosphere this album creates, the story it tells. Incredibly powerful record. Back of the GOAT tier. Stone Temple Pilots, Core. This one actually is going to hurt me pretty bad. I love this album. Every song except that weird pee-pee pants one. But it just doesn't bring enough to the table to rank it too highly here. It's really generic grunge. It's great grunge, but it's not a life-altering record, I can't say. Top of the A tier. Interpol, Turn on the Bright Lights. Fellas, I think this album is egregiously overrated. That's a big word for very. It's solid enough, I guess, but man, this just doesn't do a lot for me. It's not my cup of tea. B tier. Jay-Z, The Blueprint. Good, great even, but I don't know, I think something's missing here. I think this is a pretty good album top to bottom, but I don't see myself returning. I don't really know why. Back of the A tier. Steely Dan, Aja. Damn, this is a fun-ass record. Produced masterfully, this is just magic in your ears. I like this a lot. S tier, behind Black Sabbath. Coldplay, A Rush of Blood to the Head. It's got some classic tracks on here, but a couple songs on here overstay their welcome a bit. Take a couple tracks out of here, and I think you've got a solid A tier project, but with those filler tracks, I'm going back of the B tier. Audio Slave's self-titled record. Every video I feel I slander Chris Cornell more and more, and I'm sick and tired of it. This is a pretty good record, but man does the second half drag. I usually throw this on and then turn it off come about track 9, and that's not good news for this tier list, I fear. C tier, behind Green Day. Paramore, Brand New Eyes. Very touching project, certainly the peak of the band's discography if you ask me. It's a relatively solemn record, but I like the lyricism a lot on here. Several beautiful songs to cry to after a bad day. I like it enough. Top of the B tier. Alice in Chains, Dirt. Oh man, I love this project a lot, but it's going to be a bit lower than I'd probably prefer. This is classic grunge, just peak shit, but I can't call it the most unique record I've ever heard. I love the band, it has arguably the greatest vocalist in rock and at the peak of his performance, but I can't go much higher than Quebec here. I'm going right above Quebec in the GOAT tier. Aerosmith, Toys in the Attic. It was this or Rocks, but I was unable to name a single song off of Rocks looking at the track list, so I've gone with this one. Walk This Way is a great song, as is Sweet Emotion. I'm done now. Top of the D tier. Led Zeppelin 4. Come on. It's a rock classic. It's got arguably the greatest song of all time in Stairway to Heaven, and a couple other songs you just know when you hear them. A miss or two on here, I say, but a phenomenal record nonetheless. S tier, above Black Sabbath. Nas, Illmatic. Some guy in my comments tried to convince me It Was Written is better than Illmatic, and I 100%, like I'm serious here. I let out a hearty chuckle. This is one of the greatest hip-hop projects of all time, undeniably so. Back of the GOAT tier. Mad Villain, Mad Villainy. Back-to-back top 5 hip-hop records in a row. I do prefer this one, but that's no slight to Illmatic. This project genuinely has it all. 22 songs in 46 minutes means incredibly fast pace, great lyrics, and perhaps the man with the greatest flow ever at the helm of this project. Behind Long Season in the GOAT tier. Black Country, New Road, Ants from Up There. Stupendously good album, and sadly, I'd say these guys' last great project. Their next one's alright, but man, this one is excellent. Absolutely devastating record, but masterfully done and incredibly unique. S tier, behind Black Sabbath. Linkin Park, Hybrid Theory. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Linkin Park is very slightly overrated. Don't dislike yet. Actually, go ahead, it's okay. Couple holds on this album, to be honest with you. Couple classics on here also, to be honest with you. I like it, but I don't love it. Top of the B tier. Mad Season Above. I love this album, but I am arguably Lane Staley's biggest fan. I won't deny there are some mediocre tracks on here, but the songs that are good are freakishly good. He brings that magic to a lot of projects, and this one is no different. B tier, behind Linkin Park. Biggie Smalls, Ready to Die. Ridiculously good hip-hop project. Come on, you know this album. S tier, behind Black Sabbath. Opeth, Blackwater Park. Man, I want to like this, but the vocals on this project truly just hurt my soul. I've never been the death metal guy. In fact, I've been the anti-death metal guy multiple times in my life, but the instrumentation on this project is absolutely ethereal. Above Steely Dan in the S tier. The Smile, Wall of Eyes. This is exactly as good as every other The Smile album. It's no better and it's no worse. It's a solid 7.5 out of 10, I'd say. It's not incredible, but there's a couple standout tracks, sure. C tier, above Drake. Metallica, Master of Puppets. It's iconic, it's legendary, it's got no misses. It's one of the highest peaks in metal, undoubtedly. Above Black Sabbath in the S tier. MF Doom, Food. Legendary rap project, very lighthearted, very fun, incredible lyricism, as you come to expect with Doom, perhaps at the top of his game at the time. Behind Ants from Up There, in the S tier. Soundgarden, Super Unknown. Finally I can praise Soundgarden. It's got some incredibly iconic hits like Black Hole Sun, and some incredible hidden gems as well, if that makes any sense. I love it a lot. Above Blackwater Park, in the S tier. A Perfect Circle, 13th Step. Nah. C tier behind the Foos. Acid Bath, When the Kite String Pops. I'm relatively new to this band, but man, this record is quickly becoming a favorite of mine. Legendary instrumentation on here, coupled with a severely underrated vocalist in Dax Riggs. Great project. Back of the S tier. A Tribe Called Quest, The Low End Theory. There's not much to say here. One of the greatest hip-hop projects ever, undeniably so. Above Nas, in the GOAT tier. Sleep Token, This Place Will Be Your Tomb. I think this is just Tool for stupid people. Not that Tool fans are smart, they're just less stupid than Sleep Token fans. I go Sleep Token at the bottom, then Tool fans, and then Primus fans, who I think are so dumb, they've actually gone full circle and are actually really fucking smart. Little tangent there, this sucks. Sleep Token sucks. D tier, behind Limp Bizkit. The Misfits, Static Age. I shrug my shoulders at this record. It's not bad by any means, but this just does very little for me personally. I see the appeal, I wouldn't scoff at someone loving this album, but I don't love it personally. Behind Interpol, in the B tier. Modest Mouse, The Lonesome Crowded West. This is phenomenal. Very unique album, very atmospheric project. I had fun at times. I sobbed uncontrollably at other times. This is a great package. Behind Blonde, in the S tier. Avenged Sevenfold, Nightmare. M Shadows is a pretty cool name. That's all for the praise. On the flip side, this is alright at best. Couple standout tracks, most notably the title track, but I'm not coming back to this shit, man. I'm just gonna be honest with you. C tier, above Drake. Kanye West, The College Dropout. Yeah, this is his best shit if you ask a humble white boy like myself. Truthfully, there's a couple records that could be his best, but the hits on this album I think are just too fucking good, man. Slow Jams being perhaps my favorite Kanye song ever. I watched a clip of a Netflix documentary called Genius, spelled in the most inexplicable way possible, and it was Jamie Foxx and Kanye recording that track, and I almost just started tearing up. Rest in peace, Kanye. It's a terrible shame that you were hit by that truck immediately after releasing Donda in 2021. This is a GOAT tier project, above Tribe. Descendants, Everything Sucks. 15 songs in 30 minutes. I love the concept of that. A fuck ton of super fast-paced music, and after listening to their debut, I thought that one felt a little unpolished, but I thought a future record from these guys could be really damn good. I was wrong. This is just as good as the last one. There's almost no difference in my opinion, really. Almost great, I'd say. C tier, behind Green Day. 50 Cent, Get Rich or Die Trying. Who cares, man? Back a C. The Doors' self-titled record. Damn, this record keeps growing on me. It's a lot to swallow, to be honest, especially the closing track, but on the right day, in the right mood, with the right substances. This is a generational record, and a genre-defining one. S tier, above Biggie. Deftones' White Pony. Oh, fuck yeah. I love Deftones. Deftones with Maynard influence. I could fall to my knees right here at my desk. This is absurdly good, magical record. Incredible variety on this. One of my all-time favorites. Above Dirt. In the GOAT tier. My Bloody Valentine, Loveless. I feel like I've done this speech 5 times now. I don't get this album. I don't think I ever will. I'm not really trying to anymore. I feel dumb for not liking this, genuinely. It feels like I'm too stupid to understand this. But if you take off your rose-tinted glasses for just a second... Okay, it created Shoegaze. Great. Forget that. Now what do you have? I think you have a strong A tier project. Back of the A tier. Genius, Liquid Swords. The best solo Wu-Tang album, I'm pretty sure. This is just good shit. I don't know enough about it to go into much more depth. It's great hip-hop. S tier, behind Opeth. My Chemical Romance, The Black Parade. This is great, man. I'm sure a lot of you winced the second I said My Chemical Romance, but this album is actually phenomenal shit. It's one of the best concept albums I've ever heard, at the very least, in terms of execution. The storytelling here is unrivaled in rock, I would say. Behind Black Sabbath, in the S tier. Have a Nice Life, Death Consciousness. Perhaps the single most devastating record I've ever heard. I really don't listen to this very much at all, though. I've probably only heard it top to bottom 2 or 3 times, but this record is a masterpiece at worst. I really don't know when you're supposed to listen to this, though. This will turn a bad day into a terrible day, and a good day into a terrible day. Regardless, above Swans, in the GOAT tier. 9 Inch Nails, The Downward Spiral. This works out well, actually. Every single thing I just said about Death Consciousness, but slightly better, I'd say. I've listened to it more, I find it slightly, and I mean slightly, more palatable. Unfathomably great storytelling, flawless atmosphere. It doesn't get much better. Behind Dirt, in the GOAT tier. Oh, fuck. The Red Hot Chili Peppers. Blood Sugar Sex Magic. I'm a hater, but I'm not a liar. I would like to preface my review with a quick little fun fact about Anthony Kiedis, the lead singer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. He's a pedophile, self-admitted in his own autobiography. That's all. This album's alright. Solid 7.5 out of 10, I'd say, which is about as much praise as I can stomach giving the Red Hot Stinky Peppers. Shout out to this guy for that zinger. It's got some hits, I won't deny it, but a lot of this comes off as fluff, I'd say. Bloated. C tier, behind Audioslave. Nirvana, Nevermind. I may be the grunge guy, but don't mistake me for the Nirvana guy. Here's my credentials for not the Nirvana guy. This record is incredible, and its influence is obviously undeniable, but it's just not my favorite grunge record. I have nothing but respect for the way this album changed music, but I'd listen to Dirt over this any day. Behind Swans, in the GOAT tier. Oasis, What's the Story, Morning Glory. It's good. Not much more than that, to be honest. There's some obvious classics on here, but the songs you can't name off the top of your head are fairly average or just outright bad. Behind Paramore, in the B tier. Kendrick Lamar, To Pimp a Butterfly. What is there to say here? I guess some of you might think Good Kid, Mad City should be here over this, but I can't see it. This is probably just the peak of hip-hop, just ever. Ludicrous storytelling and lyricism here, a must-listen for anybody, even non-rap fans, I'd say. GOAT tier, above Mad Villain. David Bowie, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust. You know that gif of Danny DeVito saying, I get it now? That's actually how I feel this time. I didn't get David Bowie for a long time, and certainly not after I listened to his debut record. But this is incredible, man. It's a beautifully written concept record, incredibly creative. There's not much like this out there. Behind Swans, in the GOAT tier. Pearl Jam 10. Perhaps the weakest link in the grunge movement, if we're just talking about peaks here. This record is phenomenal, I like it a lot, but the second half of this does taper off at least a little bit, I don't know. I don't think that's deniable. The first half, a solid 9 out of 10. The second, a 7. I think we get an 8 here. I don't know what that means for this list. A tier, above Faith No More. Incubus, Morning View. so I like this one a lot. I grew up on this shit, so I'm almost unbearably skewed in my take here, but I think this is a very cohesive, very solid record. It's not a masterpiece, I'm not delusional, but I think this is a genuinely good experience top to bottom, even if it doesn't change your life. Top of the beats here. Wu-Tang Clan, Enter the Wu-Tang, 36 Chambers. Not much for me to say here either. It's a ridiculously influential rap project. I personally prefer Tribe, but this is objectively probably the better project. It's my list though, fuck you, right behind Tribe, in the GOAT tier. Blur 13. This one definitely caught me off guard, but in a good way, I'd say. I'm not a huge fan of Blur's typical sound. I find them rather generic, I guess, but this seems really out of place for them, and I like that a lot. It's very experimental, almost psychedelic on a couple tracks here. Thumbs up from me. A tier, above Pearl Jam. Ghostface Killah, Supreme Clientele. This is solid enough, but comfortably the weakest of the big Wu-Tang solo projects. Some great songs on here for sure, but there's some misses here. I also very rarely appreciate a skit, and there's a 3-minute one on this shit. Neutral thumb, back of the A tier. Pierce the Veil, Collide with the Sky. I want to love this record. I do. I promise the hottest girl you know loves this band. I leave this album with one of those smiles white people give when they're uncomfortable. I like the hits here enough, but I'm not going to look you in the metaphorical eye and call this an incredible project. I think the vocals are agonizing at points, but I wouldn't call them consistently terrible either. I don't know where to put this. Back of the beats here is as high as I can get. Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here. Truthfully, and I'm going to pull you aside before I tell you this, don't tell anybody else, but I think Dark Side of the Moon is better than this. On the other side of that, I think this is one of the greatest albums ever made with ease. Beautifully written all around, some of the most iconic lyrics in music. This is one of the greats. Top of the GOAT tier. Bullet for My Valentine, Poison. Average with a capital A, I fear. Not a project I plan to revisit. Top of the D tier. Mr. Bungle, California. Man, I love this album a lot. Ridiculously fun, some of the best experimental rock I've ever heard in my life, coupled with one of the greatest vocalists to ever live. This should be talked about much more, I think. Above Soundgarden, in the S tier. Queens of the Stone Age, Songs for the Deaf. It was this or like Clockwork. I find this project a bit more palatable for the average Joe, and that's me. Truthfully, either one of these records could have been on here. This is phenomenal shit, man. I love the dichotomy of the vocalists on these tracks. I love the concept of this album and the hits here. They're excellent. S tier. Behind Doom. Radiohead, OK Computer. Another 1A, 1B situation with this band. I've always preferred OK Computer to In Rainbows, perhaps due to the order I discovered them in, but I find this project a bit more complete, a bit more whole. This is probably the greatest album ever, maybe just the greatest piece of art ever. The hits, of course, are absurdly good, but the way this album flows and tells a story, and the way this album has remained relevant to this very day, Fuck You Grok, is absurd. Top of the GOAT tier. If In Rainbows were here instead, I'd have it right behind Wish You Were Here, if you were curious. Arcade Fire, Funeral. If you pretend these guys never made an album after this, this is one of the greatest debuts ever. Optimistic in a way. I really love the atmosphere this album provides. It really takes you right into the album. Really good shit. Back of the S tier. Mos Def, Black on Both Sides. One of my personal favorite rap projects, heavily based on nostalgia to be frank, but its influence is also undeniable. One of the greatest lyricists to ever do it, I'd say. Slightly underrated record, at least among the whippersnappers. Behind Led Zeppelin, in the S tier. The Police, Synchronicity. I find every Police record to be heavily carried by like 1 or 2 songs, with the rest of the track list being mid to bad. It's the same shit here. Couple classics, really 1 classic, and then 10 solid enough songs, I guess. Behind Guns N' Roses, in the C tier. Bush, 16 Stone, super bland shit here. A couple solid tracks, but man, the filler here makes me want to leap into a helicopter propeller. It's not as bad as you might think. Still D tier though, behind Limp Bizkit. Black Star, Mos Def and Talib Kweli are Black Star. You know, I remember this being better, actually. 4 or 5 of these tracks are actual 10 out of 10 rap songs, but the other 8, I kind of shrug my shoulders at, to be honest with you. It's a great project, a touch overrated, I'd say. A tier, behind Raekwon. King Crimson, In the Court of the Crimson King. One of the greatest prog rock albums ever. The blueprint for a lot of your favorite rock artists today. Undeniably one of the most influential albums and bands to ever grace the music scene. Moonchild isn't that good though, I'm sorry. Before I place this record, please remember that this is not your list, and this is not even an objective list, but is actually my list. This is my list, not your list. My list. Behind Dirt. In the GOAT tier. Rage Against the Machine self-titled record, another incredibly unique record. Political jargon is not usually my thing, but I feel it's executed extremely well here. Fuck the Government, I think, is something most people can get behind. It's political, it's passionate, it's angry, but it's not polarizing. Incredible project, both musically and lyrically. S tier, above the Black Parade. Megadeth, Rust in Peace. I got word the other day that people think this is the greatest metal record of all time. I would like to firmly place my hand on those people's chest and ask them to slow the fuck down. This is a phenomenal record, and I'll let it slide past Master of Puppets, whatever. But the best ever? There's some ridiculously good songs on here, but are you really going to look me in the face and tell me Poison Was the Cure is an incredible song? I couldn't do it, man. No way. I'll put it above Master of Puppets in the S tier. Tool, Lateralis. I figured I'd get the real best metal album out of the way right now. This is my favorite album ever. I don't think there's a bad song on here. I think it's one of the most unique, almost indescribable albums I've ever heard in my life. It's had a genuine impact on my life in many different ways, with many different tracks. It's my GOAT. Top of that tier. Creed, My Own Prison. You must have had too many good albums in a row, because Scott Stapp and his Christian Marauders have stopped me right in my tracks. The title track is good, everything else is mid or bad. I'll sneak Torn into the good category as well, actually, sure. Behind Bush, in the D tier. The Cure, Disintegration. Were there a gun to my head and the person holding me hostage instructed me to start inconsolably crying as fast as possible, all I would have to do is listen to this record. This might be the hardest album for me to listen to, period. The vocals on this project I find so powerful and moving, so heartbreaking, and yet slightly optimistic. I love it. I hate it. But really, I love it. Behind the Downward Spiral, in the GOAT tier. Godspeed You Black Emperor. Lift your skinny fists like antennas to heaven. Actually, an indescribably good album, unlike anything I've ever heard, but so unfathomably powerful, even with very few lyrics. Instrumentally, one of the greatest things ever. By far. Behind Long Season, in the GOAT tier. Shinedown, The Sound of Madness. Above Bush in the D tier. Arctic Monkeys, whatever people say I am, that's what I'm not. I like this quite a bit, actually. It's not the most complex record by any means, but this is a very standard but very solid rock album. It's not very ambitious on any fronts, but there's no song on here that I would call terrible, and a couple songs I thoroughly enjoyed. A tier, Behind Faith No More. Slipknot's self-titled record. Don't come at me with that Iowa bullshit, this is much better. However, we are sadly comparing mid to mid here. Starts off pretty great, but fuck does it fall off in the latter half. Good enough album, it's not my thing, maybe, if that makes you feel better. B tier, Behind the Misfits. NWA, Straight Outta Compton. Almost a great project, I'd say. All the songs you know off the dome, phenomenal tracks, iconic tracks, legendary tracks. But the ones you can't name, B tier behind Coldplay. The Smashing Pumpkins, Siamese Dream. One of the greatest albums I've ever heard, man, seriously. Mayonnaise, one of the most powerful songs I've ever heard. It's got beautiful love songs, it's got loud shoegaze filth. It's got it all, man. Incredible project. I'd like to take this time again to remind you this is my list and not your list. Above Toxicity, in the GOAT tier. Slow Dive, Savlaki. Now this is shoegaze done right. I really don't like most shoegaze, but I think this album is shoegaze taken to its theoretical peak. Devastating lyrically, ethereal instrumentation, doesn't sound like the same riff 77 fucking times, My Bloody Valentine. It's great, I like it. S tier, Behind Modest Mouse. Suicidal Tendency self-titled project. Institutionalized is a great song, Subliminal is pretty great as well, that's all I have written here. C tier, Above the Smile. Temple of the Dog self-titled record. I like this a lot. Bleach may predate this album, but I'd say this is the first true great grunge record. It's got some misses, but the strong tracks here are some of my favorites from the era, I'd say. Hunger Strike, perhaps most notably, legitimately created Pearl Jam's career on its fucking back. That's impressive shit. Back of the A tier. Beastie Boys, Paul's Boutique. My favorite group of white boys does it again. This is just good fun. I don't think it's a mesmerizing project, but you'll definitely have a good time listening to this. An album that makes any white Gen Xer bob their head. A tier, Behind Jay-Z. Gorillaz, Plastic Beach. This is really good, man. A couple misses here and there, but this is a really enjoyable and fun project top to bottom, I'd say. Much better than I thought it'd be. This is a strong project. S tier, Behind Acid Bath. The Beatles, Abbey Road. I don't have much fresh to say. It's hard to put into words how iconic and legendary this album truly is, and I think it's very deserving of all the hype it gets. It's a nearly flawless hour of incredible music. Can't go wrong with this record. Behind Mad Villain, in the GOAT tier. The Cranberries, everyone else is doing it, so why can't we? Truthfully, dear viewer, I can't remember an album I've cared less about in a long time. It's so average that I have no praise nor criticism. Perfect for nap time, I'd say. C tier, Behind Audioslave. Muse, Origin of Symmetry. I'm not the biggest Muse fan, but this is pretty great shit right here. Truly not a bad song on this project, and some absolutely incredible guitar riffs on this thing. Very fun listen. A tier, Behind Pearl Jam. Boston's self-titled record. Slightly overrated project, but the first half of this is certainly a lot of fun. I think it tapers off towards the end here, but I don't regret listening to this, unlike Boston's final record, Life, Love, and Hope, which truly is one of the worst things I think to ever happen to mankind. Above Pierce the Veil in the B tier. Korn's self-titled record, kind of just Slipknot self-titled, but less consistent, I'd say. The highs of this album are excellent. The closing track especially is super dark, but an incredible song. But the lows here are lower than they probably should be, I'd say. Right behind Slipknot in the B tier. Primus, Frizzle Fry. Every bone in my body tells me to hate Primus. I will never say their name correctly, by the way. But their good albums are, seriously, they're pretty good. Almost indescribable shit, but Les Claypool is one of the greatest bassists to ever touch the instrument. This is good. B tier, above Linkin Park. The Jimi Hendrix Experience, Electric Ladyland. We go from one of the greatest bass albums ever into arguably the greatest guitar album ever. Gun to my head, who's the best guitarist? I say David Gilmour, I fear, but right after that, I say Jimi Hendrix. One of the most talented musicians ever. This album is absurdly good, top to bottom, magical shit on here. GOAT tier, behind The Cure. The Killer's Hot Fuss. You might listen to this album and be fooled into thinking it's a really good record after the first 5 tracks. Track 6 and onward will convince you to shoot yourself in the head. It's too inconsistent, man. Way too inconsistent. I really like the first half, but fuck does it fall off. C tier, above The Smile. Iron Maiden, Power Slave. This is just really amazing heavy metal. I don't think it's the best in the genre, but this is an incredibly consistent record. Can't go wrong with this, I wouldn't say. A tier, behind Core. Blind Melon Soup, Don't Care. C tier, behind The Smile. The Microphones, The Glow Part 2. Ridiculously powerful record. Very deep, very intense, very dark, but it's a life-changing album, I'd say. A must-listen, for sure. Above The Swans, in the GOAT tier. Dr. Dre, The Chronic. Decent enough. Couple classics on here that do some incredibly heavy lifting. A lot of this is pretty forgettable, to be honest. B tier, above NWA. Elliott Smith, Either Or. One of the most depressing albums I've ever heard, for sure. I don't like this as much as the next guy, to be honest. A lot of this sounds pretty similar to me, but that similar sound is a pretty great one. I like it a lot, I just don't put it in the legendary album category that a lot of people do. S tier, behind Biggie. The Roots, Things Fall Apart. It's a shame the Roots have become the Jimmy Fallon band, because back in their prime, these guys were one of the greatest hip-hop groups to ever do it. This album is phenomenal. S tier above Mr. Bungle. The Smiths, The Queen is Dead. Morrissey sucks, this album does not. S tier above Steely Dan. Queen, A Night at the Opera. This is the one with Bohemian Rhapsody. I find most Queen albums to have a killer headlining track and then a bunch of filler shit surrounding it. It's not as obvious on this album, but I still think that's the case. There's a couple more hits on this album than the usual Queen record, but I still probably won't listen to this top to bottom again anytime soon. B tier, above Boston. The Strokes, Is This It? I am a massive Stroker. This album is phenomenal, 0 skips, short and sweet, doesn't overstay its welcome, consistently fresh. This is incredible shit. Behind the Black Parade, in the S tier. The Velvet Underground and Nico's self-titled record. I've been on the record saying I think this is overrated. I fully acknowledge its influence on music, but once again, I don't really value that very much in these rankings. It's like a cherry on top of an album I already love, usually. There's some great songs on here, but I'll argue forever that this is not a masterpiece. Several misses on here, most notably the closing track. I think that song stinks. I'll give it its flowers, though. Back of the S tier. Third Eye Blind, self-titled record. This is one of the most fun albums I've ever heard, but I can't look you in the eye and call it a masterpiece. It's great, but there's nothing too special about this. It's just a very fun, bland, typical rock shit. A tier, above Blur. 3 Days Grace, 1X. Almost the exact same case as the last album, to be honest, just way worse. It's not beautifully composed, and I'd say every single song here sounds the same, but it's a good formula that their fans love. I can respect that. C tier, Behind the Smile. Jeff Buckley, Grace, one of the GOATs. I've talked about it 40 times now, it feels like. GOAT tier, Behind Mad Villain. Travis Scott, Rodeo. This is his best album, and dare I say, one of the better rap albums in the last decade. This is technically true for the next couple months. This is pretty good, though. Fairly underrated in his discography, I think, at least from the whippersnappers on Twitter. A tier, Behind Pearl Jam. Typo Negative, October Rust. I had a nightmare that Peter Steele came back from the dead and beat me up because I slandered his album, so I'm gonna do that shit anyway, though. This is good, but it's not great. Some pretty good tracks on here, but it feels a little overambitious, I'd say. They bit off a little bit more than they could chew. B tier, Behind Paramore. U2, The Joshua Tree. The hits here are fantastic. The first 3 or 4 tracks, I think. Then I fell fast asleep. C tier, Behind Audioslave. Joy Division, Unknown Pleasures. As the great Ned Raggett once said, all visceral, all emotional, all theatrical, all perfect. One of the best albums ever. I agree with all that on a slightly smaller scale. Above Acid Bath, in the S tier. Van Halen's self-titled record. This is pretty good shit. It's probably the only Van Halen album I can listen to top to bottom without drilling a hole through my ears. But it's pretty great. Much stronger first half, but even the second half has a pretty solid amount of charm, I'd say. B tier, behind Oasis. Weezer, Pinkerton. I think this is better than the Blue Album, but it could probably go either way. It has less hits, but I'd say it's more consistent. No bad songs on here, I don't think. B tier, behind Paramore. REM, Automatic for the People. Very dark record, but this is pretty good shit. When it's good, it's great. When it's bad, it gets pretty bad, though. Nothing horrible here. I enjoyed my listen. I don't know how to end this sentence. Behind Weezer in the B tier. Death, Symbolic. Fuck, this is good. I'm usually not a fan of death metal, almost strictly because of the vocals, but the instrumentation is so absurdly good on this album that it's hard to not overlook them. Honestly, the vocals aren't even bad here. An essential metal record, better than anything Dave Mustaine got his grubby little hands on, dare I say. Behind Nevermind in the GOAT tier. That's it, I'm done. This list felt pretty comprehensive, but I'm sure I missed your favorite band, so let me know how dumb I am in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe if I'm a dumb idiot, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.